Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah, welcome back to our live health show coming to you directly from Iqra TV here in Bradford. Alhamdulillah. Before the break, we were just discussing the various, well, we mentioned 700,000 people die annually, 700,000 of heart disease. Okay, 600,000 people die every year from cancer, and 300,000 of obesity. So I mentioned high blood pressure is in many South Asian families. Everyone is either taking ramipril or amlodipine or other issues, or they're taking the medicines for the consequences of high blood pressure, like cerebral aneurysms or strokes or congestive heart failure or peripheral artery disease, or they've had a stroke or they've had a heart attack. Allah keep us safe. So it's very serious. Now nobody is kind of born with heart disease, illa mashallah. Okay, you have congestive heart failure with certain people, but that's very rare. Normally it's caused by something called sedentary lifestyle. So there's two types of blood pressure. One is primary hypertension, one is secondary hypertension. Primary hypertension means there's some reason for this high blood pressure. Okay, so you may have kidney disease. Yeah, if you have some issue with kidney disease can affect your blood pressure, and blood pressure can affect your kidney disease as well. All right, so kidney disease can cause high blood pressure, and high blood pressure can cause kidney disease. So two types of high BP: primary, secondary. So primary, if you have some issue with the kidneys that I mentioned, you've got maybe polycystic kidneys, you'll have issue with high blood pressure. You've got tumors in certain parts of your body, you'll have high blood pressure. So this can cause, and that's primary. Secondary high blood pressure is when you age. Rafta, you have a sedentary lifestyle and you get high blood pressure. Before the age of 55, here's an interesting fact. Before the age of 55, men normally get high blood pressure. Before the age of 55. After 55, it's the ladies, the females, who get high blood pressure. Badhal, blood pressure isn't something to kind of, do fakhr about. Blood pressure is, as I mentioned, the primary killer in Western societies. It's the primary reason of death, yani cardiovascular diseases. So most people who have blood pressure, it's due to primary hypertension. There's a reason for it. Now, in 90% of cases when somebody's got blood pressure, primary hypertension, the cause is unknown. The exact reason why they have blood pressure is not known. Okay. Now you can have blood pressure for 4 reasons. 4 वजह से आदमी को blood pressure हो सकता है. Number 1, the first thing is you've got CAD. Yeah, you've got cardiovascular disease. Yeah, chronic artery disease. Your arteries are congested. There's fats in there, there's lipids in there, there's cholesterol in there, and the lumen of it is narrowed. So the first reason why you get high blood pressure is heart disease. Heart disease, zahir baat hai, if you've got so many small pipes in your body, known as arteries and veins and capillaries, when the lumen, i.e. the distance between the two walls, the diameter becomes decreased, your heart has to exert more of a pressure. And what that does, it causes high blood pressure, i.e. high blood pressure means the pressure on the walls of your arteries increases. The pressure, so if you've got a hose pipe in your garden, you're watering your garden. For some reason, there is congestion inside that pipe. What will happen? Either the pipe will come off the tap, or either the water flow will decrease. So you'll go to the tap and you'll increase the water. That's what the heart does. It increases the pressure, and that pressure is then exerted on the wall. So the 4 primary reasons of blood pressure: number 1, heart disease. Number 2, you can get high blood pressure because of kidney related issues. If a person's kidneys aren't working properly, it can cause great dysfunction inside a person's body regarding high blood pressure. So kidney diseases can cause high blood pressure, and high blood pressure can cause kidney diseases. It's a vicious catch-22 situation. The third thing that can cause blood pressure is diabetes. Diabetes can, you'll know, people with diabetes, it causes peripheral artery disease. It causes the arteries and the capillaries and the veins at the extremity of a person's body, the hands, the feet, the genitals, even the mind, to dystrophy, and you get the resulting gangrene and maybe nerve damage, etc. जहाँ खून नहीं पहुँचता है तो वहाँ मौत आ जाती है. Necrosis occurs, i.e. death occurs. If there's no blood, there's death. When a person dies, the heart stops pumping. There's no nutrient, there's no oxygen, there's no anything going to these tissues. So 4 reasons of high blood pressure. Number 1, heart disease. Number 2, kidney disease. Number 3, diabetes. And number 4, stress. Stress causes a person's high blood pressure to rise. A person is in a situation and he's stressed. What happens? The adrenal glands cause adrenaline to be released, cortisol is released, physiological changes take place. A person's heartbeat gets faster. It starts beating very, very quickly. What happens then? It causes pressure to rise in the venous supply. Now, normally that's not an issue, but if you don't manage it and you have chronic stress where all the time you're in this situation, then you may or may not have, this raised elevation. You may not. But what you may do is one of 2 things. When you have a lot of stress and you're in a continuous stress mode, the 4th reason of high blood pressure. So because of this continuous stress, you will over binge in eating. You'll eat a lot more sugary stuff. You'll maybe smoke a lot more. And smoke in the States, 1 in 10 fatalities are directly contributed to by smoking. Smoking causes phenomenal damage to the person's body. So when you have stress, what will you do? You'll eat a lot more. Many people do. You'll smoke a lot more. Many people do. And for certain people who do so, which is haram for Muslims, is they'll have a lot more alcohol. And alcohol again will cause damage to many, many organs and organ systems in a person's body. So first of all, blood pressure, what is the definition? Blood pressure means elevation of the pressure inside the walls of the venous supply. That's blood pressure. Now, normally when a person's running or he's under stress, zahir baat hai, or he's in a heated argument, or he's in a situation where he's not in control, the heart will beat faster. It's a natural thing, fight or flight response. But that tends to go and you're back to normal normally. When the situation occurs where your blood pressure doesn't go down for a long, long time, that is high blood pressure, and that is extremely dangerous. Why? Because it can cause things like aneurysms. In fact, it can cause 6 things. Let's go through them. First of all, it can cause a heart attack. And heart attack means when the blood supply to the heart is reduced or it stops completely, that will result in necrosis of certain tissues of the heart. Usko kehte hain heart attack. Very, very dangerous. You'll feel the pain, you'll feel sweating, you'll feel all pain going down to your arms, and that's extremely dangerous. We've got a phone call. We'll go to the phone call first, and we'll come back to this, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Ji bhai, farmai.
Ji bhai. It's that time of year when I suffer from hay fever allergy quite a bit, and I was wondering if you could suggest any foods or any remedies I could do other than what I'm taking from the pharmacy.
That's citrazine you're taking, I'm assuming, aren't you, bhai? Over the counter. Okay. Jazakallah. Yes. Of course, bhai. Keep listening, inshallah. In fact,
okay.
What I suggest when it comes to hay fever issues is this. We've got another call. Let's take the next call as well, then we'll come back to this, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, bhai. If you want to ask your question.
Wa alaikum wa rahmatullah. Ali, one question.
Sorry, bhai, say that again, please.
जी सर, टिप के हवाले से एक सवाल था मेरा सेहत के नर्व आपका भी कमजोरी नर्व कम के हवाले।
भाई जरा पीछे से जो आपकी टीवी है ना उसको जरा बंद कर ले या if you can hear echo
here. सॉरी मैं ऑफ करता हूं 1 सेकंड।
जज़ाकल्लाह। हां अभी फरमाएं।
नर्व सिस्टम वीक हो, आसाबी कमजोरी, सॉरी अली बात करो, अब ना आसाबी कमजोरी या नर्वस सिस्टम किसी का वीक हो, मसल्स वीक हो, तो उसके लिए कुदरती क्या करना चाहिए? और आयरन भी कम हो।
आयरन कम हो
और टिबी नर्वस सिस्टम आसाबी कमजोरी।
हाँ, like when you come
और मसल्स वीक है।
When you say nerves, which nerves in particular, please? ये बताएं क्योंकि
जनरली नर्वस सिस्टम वीक है, सर्दी, थकन, दर्द, कमजोरी, B1 कम है, विटामिन B कम बहुत लो है कुदरती तौर पर, और नर्वस सिस्टम पूरा जनरली स्ट्रांग करने का
बहुत अच्छा। मर्द या खातून के अंदर?
जवाब सुनता हूं, जज़ाकल्लाह।
Brother, before you go, is that in ladies or is that in females? बहरहाल कोई बात नहीं, I'll say both. जज़ाकल्लाह। Okay, we had two questions. First of all, let's mention, in fact, we'll come to these questions in due course. आप सुनते जाएं इंशाल्लाह, हम आपके सवालों की तरफ आ जाएंगे. हम यही बता रहे थे BP के बारे में. BP is the biggest killer in the world, in the Western world. Now, it's very surprising that, in many places in the world where the diet is good, there's no high BP. Yeah? There's no heart disease like the Hunza Valley in Pakistan, in these places. People have a fantastic diet, they don't have high BP. It's only when they come and settle in these westernized countries and they adopt the diet of these countries, over years, they don't just have the BP levels of the normal indigenous population, they actually go a lot more higher than that. So the Hunza people, when they come and settle in other places, after a few years, they have this diet, the BP goes through the roof. The Eskimos as well. You look, bichare, when they come to these westernized societies, they have no BP, no heart disease in their own societies, but when they come here, it goes through the roof. So something obviously is causing this elevation of blood pressure. So we'll come to that inshallah. So the first thing with blood pressure is that it can cause all these things I've mentioned. Number one, heart attacks. Number two, cerebral aneurysm. Cerebral aneurysm means it can cause strokes. So stroke means when you have a bleed, normally a bleed in the brain. Now what causes a bleed? Very simple, the same thing that causes a rupture of a pipe with water. It breaks. Now what causes it to break? Pressure. If there's pressure inside an instrument, if that pressure is more in the inside than the outside can withstand, it'll rupture. Same thing in your blood vessels. When the pressure is too high, it's too much pressure, the weakest chink will go. Now what causes these vessels to become very, very weak? The biggest thing is inside them vessels, there's a lot of cholesterol, a lot of fats, which has kind of, made the artery or that venous supply or the venous system is made it very tight. So if you imagine you put some sellotape around a pipe, okay, or around a paper, or around something, what will it do? It'll get rid of its flexibility, okay? So it won't have that, give and take, that lichak as we call it in Urdu. So when the pressure comes, either it'll take the pressure or either it'll rupture. Whereas a healthy lumen and a healthy venous supply and a healthy artery and vein and a capillary, that will have the ability to kind of stretch slightly and give way, stretch and give way. When that capacity to stretch is reduced or actually goes, then you are in a danger zone and that can rupture any time. And some of these capillaries and arteries and veins are very, very small. Some capillaries are so small, they're like a small thread, If you see these kind of threads, then you will never eat another kebab again or another steak again, because you think that small piece of that, steak or some kind of meaty food, or them pakores or the samosas or them, what else do you call them, parathe, will actually, in fact, once I was reading this magazine called Heart Matters. It was a Sunday morning, I was sitting down having a paratha, alhamdulillah, as you do on Sundays. But this was a good paratha, he had real butter and real ghee on, which is very good for you actually. And I opened the magazine and it said there that, I was eating my paratha and I had a heart attack. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. After that, I've been so traumatized really that I can't even eat paratha properly because it can cause heart attacks. But my friends, that will only happen when you don't look after your health and you eat every junk you can find. And that causes a build-up of plaques. And you've had so much sugar, like that guy in Bichara who had a heart attack, so much sugar that's caused the narrowing of the lumen. If you have normal lifestyle, you can eat healthy foods, healthy fats, and we went through that last week. As long as you exercise, then you live the life Allah has given you until you leave the world. And you've got to leave the world for certain reasons. I mentioned before as well that many people who have heart attacks, their cholesterol levels are normal. 50% of people lagbag. So aortic aneurysm, that can be caused by high blood pressure. Heart attack, cerebral aneurysms, the aorta, the big rugs jo hoti hai, wahan you can have aneurysm, it can rupture. Congestive heart failure, weakened or narrowed kidneys, kidney vessels. So kidney disease can be caused by high blood pressure. And also it can cause cognitive malfunction. So people, unke jo zehn ke andar jo, your memory, your ability to remember names, can all be impacted by high blood pressure. And above all, it's the biggest killer in westernized world. In fact, let me tell you something. 1 in 2 people don't survive their first heart attack. 1 in 2 50% of people don't survive their first heart attack. So, you know, I don't feel lucky. Allah Ta'ala keep us safe. So we've got to do something about this. And many South Asians have these issues. Why? It's very obvious why. They, from the 3 reasons that can cause these things, they tick all the boxes. So first of all, they have their behavior and their lifestyle ticks all the boxes for high blood pressure. Number 2, they have the illnesses, health conditions that can cause high BP. They have it. Things like CAD, things like peripheral artery disease. And the third thing, they have a family history or genetics that predisposes them to diabetes. So they tick all the boxes, but yet what do? Nothing. Unfortunately, people don't do anything. Most people, they just, relax, walk around, and they'll give the priority to the health. They'll make that the last priority. Please stay with us until after the, we're going for a break now, inshallah. After the break, we'll continue with the subject of high blood pressure. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.